All right, time to get a little old school, Jackson. Yeah. um, as you saw, yeah, this was submitted by my friend PM Night 12. A little old school for all of us, especially for the younger generation. The game that started it all, Pong. Now, this could really be re-imaged for this kind of generation that never played it back in the days. They always seem to re-image a lot of these classic games like PacMan and things like that. Pong could be up there. Pong could really like give it a more challenging feel than there's just one ball, boink, boink, boink. But give it more like maybe add like a little bit of feel to it, like adding maybe two balls and going back and forth. You got to be a little quicker, or switching, rotating the screen around, and you still got to try to keep up with keeping you from getting the ball on your side. There's a lot of things they can re-image about this game, but it is the game that started it all for everything. It is one of the godfathers of the, it is up there. But it is old school, a little old school, and nothing's wrong with old school, nothing at all. So I'm glad to see somebody, PM Night, would put this, even if you're not a big gamer, because Pong it deserves to get a little remake. I'm not saying make it into a full-fledged game like you buy, but maybe a arcade game for the Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network, stuff like that, or the Wii. It could work. It really could work. So thanks PM Night for remembering Pong.
PacMan.
All right, guys. As you saw, keeping it still a little old school. Uh, as always, Namco's mascot, PacMan. Oh yeah, love me some PacMan. um, two people submitted this: PM Night 12 and my friend from down under, Big Rick. Yeah, it Namco has always tried to re-image Pac-Man, always, and some are successful and some are not. Oh, sorry about that. Um, but they always seem to re-image Pac-Man. But sometimes, as always, they always like to go back to the old look, and most of the time, you can't beat that. You cannot beat the old look for Pac-Man. He is a character that has really lasted the test of time in terms of staying the old look. Definitely. Whilst many of the other characters have moved on to looking different and changing and things like that. Old Pac-Man here is good where he is, where he stands. So I would definitely really re-image him. No, not really. Just keep him the same way he is. Just up the ante in the graphics wise in the for the next gen systems. But thanks guys for keeping us remembering the old stuff. Uh, keeping it old school. As I always say, what do I always say, guys? Old school is cool.
UN Squadron.
All right. UN Squadron. That was submitted by FW Waller. Hey Ian, how you doing? Um, UN Squadron was a side scroll shooter. Pretty much like all the classic side scroll shooters. It was made by Capcom. In Japan, it was called Area 88. It was pretty much based off the manga series. But here in the States, it was called UN Squadron. Um, any games you played other like Capcom, like various other side scroll shooter Capcom games like 1942 and things like that. That's pretty much what UN Squadron was. It came out for the Super Nintendo, and it was fun. It was a fun game. It was fun. But yeah, I would take a new direction with this game. Maybe make it more of a flight simulation game instead of just a side scroll, shooter. Make it more of a like a side scroll like the Ace Combat series or something like that. But yeah, not a bad choice. Very good choice, Waller. Very good choice. So let's move on.
Legacy of Kain.
Okay, guys. As you saw, this was also submitted by F.W. Waller. Um, Legacy of Kain. Legacy of Kain series. A lot of people have been wanting a new one of these games or a remake or so. It was a very cool three-dimensional, two-dimensional action adventure game. Had a lot of puzzles to deal with. It wasn't just all fighting. You had to use your head. You had to be able to solve puzzles. So it was like a problem-solving game as well. But it was fun. It spawned like a lot of games afterwards. Came out from many systems. From the the last system I remember coming out for was, the PlayStation 1 or and the Dreamcast, and I think PS2. I think it came out for PS2. I could be wrong. Correct me on that one, guys. But I do remember PlayStation, Dreamcast, and other games for that. But it was a good game. I could definitely see this being re-imaged, remade with next-gen graphics. But another good choice, nonetheless, a very good choice. Very good choice.
Castlevania.
Castlevania. Uh, this was submitted by two guys, F.W. Waller once again, and Iron X Knight. But they want the old school look of Castlevania back. Now, with all the Castlevania games that have been out, the last one that came out, which came out for the Xbox 360, I have it. It's a good game. That game is really fun. It kind of has that feel of the old school, but sometimes I do want the old school look for Castlevania. I remember playing the first one, fell in love with that game. Another one of Konami's babies. That is one of Konami's full front money makers right there. And a new maybe old school remake of the first game would I think would wow everybody. That would wow the older fans that remember playing the first one back in the days, and even get the newer generation to be like, hey, not bad. Uh, so on this case, I actually would take a remake of of Castlevania, but the old school look. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do that for every game, but for Castlevania, I'll make an exception. Uh, Definitely strongly make a suggestion. Another good one, guys.
Killer Instinct.
Yeah, good going, you two. I thought there'd be more guys that would have submitted this as a remake or revamp. But once again, F.W. Waller and my friend Juan, Jewett Dragon, basically, submitted this Killer Instinct, as you saw. Uh, Killer Instinct, man, it's been a long time, guys, since we played Killer Instinct or seen vaguely anything about Killer Instinct. Now, it was developed by Rare, and I think Microsoft owns Rare now. So, what's the holdup? You know what I'm saying? I The way I would do a remake of this is follow in the footsteps, and I keep saying it, but it's true. Follow in the footsteps of Mortal Kombat. Mr. Ed Boon did us proud with the new Mortal Kombat game. He revamped it, rebooted it, however you want to call it, but he did it so well that it's almost like a excuse me, blueprint for rebooting or re-imaging a fighting game franchise. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much how I would do it as well. Uh, my favorite um, character in the Killer Instinct series was um, Jago. He was Jago. I know. I'm hope I'm saying his name right. It's spelled Jago. He was the Tibetan monk, and he pretty much fought like Ryu and Ken. He had that fireball technique called Echiku Ken. I loved him. He was my favorite. Um, Everything about it. Revamped their no mercy moves. Their no mercy moves like their fatalities. Um, but everything about it, I would love to see them reboot that game. That is a sweet game to reboot. It deserves a remake, or even just another game. You know, because they ended on two, so let's get a third one out there. But doesn't matter. Rebooting this series to me would help a lot. But like I said, it was Rare. It was made by the company Rare, and I think Microsoft owns Rare now. So have at it. Have at it.
Double Dragon.
Yeah, as you saw the title, Double Dragon. This was submitted by Big Rick, Animal God, Galactus Girl, and Duet Dragon again. Um, Double Dragon was another fun beat 'em up game. It came out for the NES. They did. It was Double Dragon 2. I remember. I think they made a 3. I think they made a 3. There was ones came out for the Game Boy. When it went to Super NES, became Super Double Dragon. They even had a fighting game based on Double Dragon. Uh, well, I can proudly say this. They are making a remake of the Double Dragon series. Yes, they are. For information on it, you can go to IGN.com or GameTrailers.com, and they actually show a little bit of gameplay for the remake Double Dragon. It's going to look totally different than what we remembered with Billy and Jimmy Lee. Um, yeah, it's going to look way different. Now, what I think it is it's an arcade game for the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. And actually, I believe it comes out this month, actually. I'm not sure. I believe it's the 19th. I could be wrong. Do your research on that. But, yes, we are getting a remake of Double Dragon. Like I said, it's going to be totally different. I saw some of the gameplay. It's still the classic beat 'em up, but just totally different. It looks totally different than what we usually saw. Hopefully they will keep the original music, because that's a famous, music as well, Um, but thank you, thank you so much for remembering. I thought I was the only one that did, but as always, guys, we're getting this. We're getting a remake of Double Dragon. How you like that?